While watching the very first episode of Pluto, a specific scene caught me by surprise. A robot thrown in the trash, and Detective Gesicht looking at it with a sad expression. It made me think, why are we shocked by a discarded robot but normalize discarded people? This scene made me reflect on how Pluto uses robots to expose our own social hypocrisy. We are shocked to see a robot treated like trash, but how often do we ignore people who are treated the same way in our society? Why are some people given some kind of value while others don't deserve our attention? Status? Social position? Welcome to the channel Anime Complex. Watching Pluto, I began to realize how the anime uses robots to make us reflect on our own social hypocrisy. The robots in Pluto are treated in ways that often mirror how we treat different groups of people in our society. One example that struck me was the scene where Detective Gesicht finds the memory chip of a murdered robot police officer, discarded like common trash. The worker who was disposing of the dead robot speaks with disdain, saying it's just a machine, not knowing that Gesicht is also a robot due to his human appearance. The robot wife of the murdered police officer represents those who are invisible in our society. No one cared about her. Her husband was being discarded. He had memories. Only Detective Gesicht, a robot like him, could care. Essential service workers, homeless people, among others. They play crucial roles but are often undervalued and dehumanized. How many times do we pass by cleaning workers, delivery people, or homeless individuals without really seeing them? Like the robots in Pluto, these people are essential for the functioning of society, but they are often ignored, diminished, dehumanized, and often can only count on themselves or a few who understand their situation. This reflection on the dehumanization of robots in Pluto led me to think of another character that exemplifies this issue even more. Another robot in the anime who, despite his skills and aspirations, is constantly reduced to a function that I end the same episode. There is a warrior robot named North Number 2, who after the war finds a new passion, playing the piano. He becomes an assistant to an old blind pianist, Mr. Paul Duncan, and this relationship is initially difficult. The pianist, who lost his sight and ability to play, is bitter and resistant to the robot's presence. Over time, North Number 2 and Duncan develop a relationship of respect and friendship. The robot not only learns to play the piano, but also develops his own musical style, an artistic expression that transcends any programming. Even so, he is constantly reminded that, to many, he is nothing more than a war machine. Denying the complexity and aspirations of individuals is a form of dehumanization. Just like North Number 2, many people are seen only for the role they play in society, and their passions and talents are ignored. Think about how many times we underestimate someone because of their occupation. A bus driver who is a talented writer, a housekeeper who is an incredible painter. These people have dreams and skills that go beyond their daily functions, but they often do not receive the recognition they deserve. If this is a great example of human expression for a human, a machine shows itself to be very similar. This story of the warrior robot made me think even more about how empathy and recognition of value often only happen after extreme effort, depending on who you are and where you live. This is something we see not only in Pluto, but also in our society. That I end the anime, Detective Gesicht, one of the most advanced robots in the world, is one of the few who truly sees robots as complex beings worthy of respect. It is ironic how, because he looks so human, people do not realize he is a robot while expressing their prejudice. He understands their struggles and aspirations, something many humans in the world of Pluto cannot or do not want to see. Just like excluded people, due to their social conditions, often need to overcome immense obstacles due to lack of access to the basics to be seen and recognized. The relationship between the old blind pianist and North Number 2 is a perfect example of this. At first, the pianist is bitter and resistant to the robot's presence. He sees North Number 2 as nothing more than a war machine. As North Number 2 strives to learn to play the piano and show his passion, the pianist begins to see him differently. That a modern example would be an immigrant who, despite facing prejudice and difficulties, works tirelessly to build a better life and show their true value. Our empathy is often selective and based on status or identification. We recognize and value those who look like us or have a high social status, while we ignore or devalue those who do not fit these criteria. Think about how we treat celebrities or high-status people with empathy and respect, while we often ignore or devalue essential workers or homeless people. These reflections on dehumanization and selective empathy made me admire even more the genius of Naoki Urasawa, the creator of Pluto. He takes a classic Astro Boy story and turns it into a mirror of our current society. It is impressive how he manages to use a science fiction story to make us question our own attitudes and prejudices. Urasawa forces us to confront our own prejudices and the way we treat those we consider different. Pluto is not just a story about robots. It is a deep reflection on humanity and society. That be why watching Pluto, we can reflect on how we treat the people around us. Are we really seeing and recognizing the value of everyone? Or are we stuck in our own bubbles of selective empathy? Dehumanization can be a social choice, not a natural consequence. We can choose to see and value the complexity and aspirations of everyone, regardless of their social status or occupation.